Happy Tuesday, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your schedule to join us on our Facebook Live. My name is Camila Bywaters, and one of my focuses this year is to highlight school boards. Let's pay attention to what's happening in our school system, not only in Las Vegas, the Clark County School District. When we get a chance, we're going to talk about some charter school stuff that's going on, dabble in some private school shenanigans, and then also look at what's happening in school districts across the United States, because there are some somebody says connective tissue. One of my shows that I watched, oh, it was Origin. If you have not seen Origin on Hulu, please watch it. It's about the young lady is doing like work on the caste system, and she's the one who wrote the book Caste, but she's talking about the connective tissue and how things are interconnected, and how things that are happening in one region of the United States are starting to dwindle in and happen across the United States. So that's for me. I want to make sure that the people in the Zoom, that they introduce themselves if they would like to. We'll go ahead and start with Mr. Rodney and Tracy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you had a good start to your work week. I am a big supporter of Ms. Camila Bywaters. One day will be an elected official of something, if not the school board. And I think we're still going to need her on that school board for that same race that she ran. I am one who also believes that schools are under attack, and people outside of us know how valuable getting to the minds of our young scholars, because if they can condition them in their youth, they do not have to worry about them rebelling once they get older. So I am here in support of our young scholars because that is our future. And of course, I'm here to support the work that Ms. Bywaters is doing for those young scholars.
Thank you, Mr. Rodney. Tracy?
Good evening, everybody, and our on here, but good evening. I concur with everything Mr. Rodney has said regarding Sister Camila, and some other people. We have elections coming up in 2026, so we need to start vetting people now, because this is not a good look as to what's happening. So I'm gonna put us back on mute and take it from there.
Did anyone else want to introduce themselves? We got a couple people in here. We got the General. Hey, Miss Amy. Mercedes. Oh my gosh. Y'all, listen. Mercedes called me about what? Probably like an hour ago. And she was like, girl, listen to these issues and these challenges. I was like, hey, you know what? The topic tonight is actually, we want to hear some of the public concern about public education. So if you have time, pop on, or anytime, Mercedes, you want to do a topic, you're welcome to have a topic that you would like us to do and lead anytime. So do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh, thank you, Camila. So awesome. My name is Mercedes McKinley, and sorry, I'm playing mom and a couple roles. I was a teacher with the district for several years, product of the district, and I ran for school board here in District A. I lost in the primary, and I actually just got back into the CCSD sub pool, and I'm in grad school right now, working on my second master's for special education, K through 12. So that's kind of how I coped with my loss. I started a nonprofit and I went back to school and I'm back in the sub pool. And yeah, one of the reasons I called Camila, and I was like, you know what, we need to have a discussion, and I'll just bring it up real quick. Maybe we can do. Shh, I'll color with you, baby. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this email up. So I'm in the sub pool, and I get these messages that they're looking for subs, and I'm looking for work all the time. But this caught my attention. It said the Transformation Network, two substitutes needed for elementary. It says we're seeking substitutes to work the Transformation Network 5 days per week. Must be willing to travel to one of our 23 elementary schools. And right away I was like, well, this is kind of vague. Like, what are the hours? What are the grades? Am I doing small group? Am I doing whole class?
Right.
Like, so I shot back a lot of questions. And they came back with that this is a pool of substitutes that only serves these 23 schools that they've deemed failing. We
Okay.
don't go on the smart find system that all the other subs use. So you're only used for these schools, and that the purpose is so that you can jump in when teachers go do professional development in
Mhm.
classes and stuff like that. So then, I started talking to another former coworker, and we're like, why do teachers need so much professional development? Oh, because they're the new rookie teachers like me who have gotten thrown into the failing schools. And let's talk about that. The schools are failing, and we can't keep our good, seasoned, experienced teachers in the classroom, right? So they get a bunch of rookies in there who don't know what is going on. And then they need subs, people like me for work, going in to fill in these holes in these schools that are failing. And to me, the first thing that I just felt is that this sends a message of more instability to our
Right.
students. Your school is failing, your teacher's leaving all the time, and they won't even commit these subs to the same schools. They're rotating in a pool. So I can't even, because my idea, as I was talking to my husband about it, he's like, you ready to go back into a rough school? And I said, yeah, if I got the time and I know what I'm going into and I'm going to build a relationship with these students, you don't even get that chance because they're circulating you. And these are our worst suffering schools in the district. To me, that is not the answer. I just wanted to bring it back to, if we take care of our experienced teachers who have left the district because they're overburdened, they're not heard, our students are being violent, these things are not being taken care of, we wouldn't have this entire mess that just tells the students, hey, your teacher don't really want to be here. That person ain't here to stay with you. Like this is a revolving door of teachers. So what does that mean to the student who's trying to learn? It really kind of bothered me. And so anyway, the second one is count day. And that one I do think I might try to lead on that, but how problematic I believe the practice of count day in the school district is. And that does go back to budget and how they figure out their budget for the next year. And there's a lot of ramifications around that. I'm hoping to get another teacher on here who had the same experience that I did with count day. And it wasn't just traumatic for us, but it was really heavy on our kids because they rip us out of those classrooms if they deem that there aren't enough students. And then the kids, who we've built, it goes back to those relationships, and I guess that's why I keep going back to that. If we are going to if we're going to help our kids succeed, we need relationships. A sock, it's beautiful. They need to know that we're there for them. It's for my friends. Thank you. She made a sock for you guys. It's so that the kids know that I'm going to be there this year, next year, the year after. And we can't give that guarantee to our parents. That was an issue that came up. Ms. McKinley, are you going to be here next year? Because I want my son to have you. You had my daughter. You can't give parents those kinds of promises because they can't keep good teachers. So, and then I see these solutions and I'm like, dear Lord. Anyway, sorry, that's my 2 cents. That's my concern is how they're dealing with the most failing schools right now and what message that sends to our students.
Right. Don't never apologize on this show. The point is we want to hear all perspective, and sometimes it will be uncomfortable. And I think you really started us out on a lot to unpack. But with the transformation schools are the schools that they need the most support. There was an article that just came out in the Las Vegas Review Journal, and I'm not really a big fan of the Las Vegas Review Journal. And we will do what would we do? Let me say this. They have some very good journalists within the network of the Las Vegas Review Journal, but we do need to talk about how media is very biased, and we will talk about that one day. But in the Las Vegas Review Journal, they just had an article that says CCSD blames a 2017 law for teacher vacancies. So CCSD never fails to amaze me. Like, they are on the worst track record of building relationships. You hear what I'm saying? The worst track record. Like, what is this? I understand that we may not agree, but there's a better way to kind of do this. I really hope that I really hope that there can be some relationship building with our new board and the legislature. But here's what they say. They say Assembly Bill 469 passed in 2017 required CCSD to decentralize and transfer more decision-making and budgetary power to principals and schools. And they're saying that because of that, this is causing more teacher vacancies in our transformation network and our schools that need more support. So that's that. And I wanted to bring that up, Mercedes, because it's really kind of going in line with why we're seeing such a, well, some of the issue is the blaming and then CCSD not providing a solution to work with their leaders, to work with their principals to figure out ways to solve the problem. And then you brought up another issue about Count Day. I know Tracy has some stories about actions that Marzette Lewis did on Count Day. So we can talk about some of those things like, but I think you brought up some really good points. I do want to say for everybody that joined us today on Facebook Live, today is the day that we wanted to talk about some of your worries about public education. What are some things that you're concerned about? You can either put them in the chat or you can put them in the Facebook Live. You can also join our Zoom if you would like. And this is the time for the community to express their concerns. We want to hear from you. We cannot move to a solution-oriented space without understanding what some of our fears and frustrations and some of our worries are. And then if you have a solution, put your Cash App out there. Put your Cash App out there. Y'all send them consultant fees, okay? All y'all consultants out there, every time I turn around, y'all want a consultant fee. But anywho, we might have some solutions that we could talk about that can be used to help move this needle forward. Thank you so much, Mercedes, for that. And feel free still to pop in. But I'm interested to hear from the group. Are there anything that's coming up for you? Later, I will go ahead and talk about some things that I've been hearing about the United States Department of Education. I did want us to look a little bit at who the individual who will be leading or who was nominated for the Department of Education, and just talk about some of their initiatives and some of the things that they said about public education. Did anyone want to chime in?
I would love to. If I know I'm not showing my face. I'm not camera ready.
That's okay. You are voice ready.
Anyway,
We see
I
you,
want to
Mama
greet
Teresa.
everybody, Camilla, all of you guys, and Sister Tracy and the General and all of you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me on this platform. You know where I stand. I'm quiet because I'm learning and I'm listening what is going on, but at the same time, I do try to pay attention to what's going on by the news globally, what is happening with the school district. But I still say that strategically, we need to come together and see how we can open up our own schools for our children and begin to take that responsibility in our own hands. And I know we need a place and all of that, but I believe if we begin to strategize as a collective community, we can find the solutions within us. Because we must make sure that our children are educated, even with the history that they're preventing. So I still say you guys heard me say this many times. It's a way that we can open up our own schools. One thing about it, if they don't have the students in the class, they do not get the grant funding, and that will hurt the Clark County School District. So I just want to add my little 3 cents, and hopefully that will be some thought to think about, and we can go from there.
Yeah, one thing about you,
Thank
Mama
you.
Teresa, you are consistent, and that is your thing. I absolutely agree with you, for
I
sure.
believe in taking our power back. I'm no longer a slave. I am a servant. I am not even a servant. I'm a queen of the Most High, and He gives us strategies and witty ideas. And now we are some of the most spiritual people. Now let's take that spirituality and grab a hold of the wisdom and the strategies, and let's collectively come together. And we are women. We are women. We are powerful. And not only that, we're Black women. We are powerful. And so I'm going to close with that because you know how my passion is. I'll get crazy, but I'm just going to leave it with that.
Listen, we want your voice here. We want your voice here. So whenever you want to chime in, please let us know. I think it's really good to hear from other voices. That's why I'm so thankful that Mercedes got on here. And then where's Felicia? Where's Felicia go? She must have dropped off. Usually Felicia logs on when we end, but she made it today, so I'm thankful. But yeah, I think that's a great point that you made. I know that there's people, obviously there is a controversy with charter schools, but I absolutely understand why people leave public education. Well, charter schools first are public education. Let's get that together. But I do understand why people make different choices because they feel like what they have is failing them. So I definitely, and then we have to really be honest about data and statistics in regards to how children are being educated. Right now, we know that students with disabilities do not have the best education holistically. We know that our Black children do not have the best education. They are expelled at higher numbers than any other racial group across the United States and here in the Clark County School District. The numbers are outrageous, and specifically for Black students make up only 14% of the population, but are expelled over 40% of the rate. So that don't even make any kind of sense. And if you want to see those statistics on your own, you can go to the Nevada Department of Education and you can go to the Nevada Accountability Portal. So you can Google that and you can see those statistics from the Department of Civil Rights. Like, schools have to monitor this. Clark County School District monitors this, so we can request their data to see what they're doing and also some of the plans around that. Hey, Felicia, you back?
Yes, I got kicked out. I'm sorry.
Okay, because I mentioned you. Did you have something you wanted to talk about that maybe is concerning you in public education?
The retention, the retention law.
Okay, okay. Of
I don't
teachers or
of teachers of licensed teachers.
yeah. That's a really big deal. Listen, teachers go through to become a licensed teacher. You have to go through, if you do a traditional route, it's 4 years of undergraduate. You have to be in a teacher education program. So there's fundamentals of education, there's theory, management of behaviors, there's certain classes that you take to prepare you for the field of education. If you're not able to go through a traditional route, then you can do a fast track. I don't think there's any, I love fast track. I did, my master's was a fast track program to become a special ed teacher. Mercedes, are you in an ARL right now? Or are you doing a fast track for your
No, I'm not. But actually, that's another really good point. I was in the district ARL when I
Okay.
first went into the classroom, and then count day broke me so hard because I had 26 babies crying because I was leaving them. My children fell apart. I had to get that principal to come in there and calm them down and tell those babies it wasn't my choice. And I quit the program. Straight up, I'm beyond. I quit. I was like, I'm done. I hate it. I went back as a CTT, saw my babies
what?
again.
Say it again.
I went back as a CTT.
What is that?
What's
What
the
is that?
Oh, certified temporary tutor.
Okay, good.
So yeah, you have to have a sub license, and then as a certified temporary tutor, that's federal money actually. And my contract said I was only supposed to do small group reading and writing. They had me doing everything.
I was like, I thought she had a whole class.
Everything, subbing, you're not supposed to. And so when I was on the campaign trail, I would talk about misappropriation of federal funds because of the fact that we simply don't have enough help and guidance and oversight. Right? Like they put me in there. The federal government put that money in there so I could do small groups. I was breaking up fights at lunch. So anyway, I do want to bring this up. The ARL program I was in when COVID hit. And then we had to do all our classes online. And then I got pregnant. Seriously, surprise. My dad, my whole family and I got COVID. January 2021.
Oh my God.
My dad went in the hospital. I was pregnant and I had COVID. My dad went in the hospital for 2 months. Died 3 days before this child was born. She never met her granddad. Okay. So I was terrified to go back into the classroom after that. I finished teaching online that year. I mean, you can imagine a newborn baby. And I used to bring home all kinds of stuff from the kids before COVID. So I took a year off. Get this though. I tried to go back to Sierra Nevada to finish my ARL program. Gone. What? University of Nevada, Reno bought Sierra Nevada College. And because I wasn't an active student, even though I was a good standing, UNR wanted me to reapply and start all over again. So that's why now I'm doing a traditional program at WGU. I'll do the 3 months of unpaid. It's another block right there to keep people from being teachers. 3 months of unpaid work, 3 months of student teaching. I'm trying to save up for that now so that I
Right.
don't put my family in the hole. But I decided because I have a little one, that an ARL is just too hard because
Yeah.
I was doing it before I had the baby. And now I can't imagine doing both. That's why I'm doing the traditional school. But the ARL program with the district got killed. It is gone. I actually called them to tell them that I'm in WGU now. I just finished 25% of this master's program, and everything they're teaching me was what those teachers at CCSD ARL were teaching me, that it was a good program. And guess what? There's nobody I could tell. It's gone. And they're like, oh, we work with these other companies. It's $1,700 to go to another program. The CCSD one was $500. And it's gone. They killed it, and
Wow.
I don't understand why. Sorry, that's my other rant, because I was like, I want somebody to know that I did this program twice, and it is up to par with what I'm learning at the paid university. The program was killed 2023, they said. So sorry, that's because I'm like, I don't know anybody else that's worked this hard to go work at like the worst
Except for
school district.
teachers. And then we get the lowest pay out of everybody in the world. And that is really frustrating because I've had similar type of situations too. Now, that student teaching thing, that right there eliminates a lot. When people are deciding if they're going to teach, and if you go to a school, if you don't have a grant or some type of opportunity, because I think you need about 12 credits of student teaching on your transcript. You listen, not everybody can stay at home. Not everybody can, has a network that can help them to survive. Some people do not choose the teaching career because it is an unpaid student teaching opportunity. Unpaid.
Yeah, it's 12 weeks total that I have to do.
12 weeks. Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's your 12 credits. Yeah. And that is not that's definitely something that needs to be, if you want good teachers and you want to recruit, that has to be funded. It just has to be, or they have to find another way to build it into tuition, like, or, build it into something. I don't know. Well, tuition probably wasn't the right thing to say, but they
Or
have
even a
to
stipend. When I
build it.
was running for office, I was like, what if we could give student teachers some kind of stipend, just so
Right.
there's something being thrown at you while you're in there, because you are in there working with, the head teacher.
Exactly. Or
Also,
okay, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
also because I went through the cohort at UNLV,
Uh-huh.
free cohort for my special ed license. And I saw a glimpse on the news about something at Mojave. They have some student teaching programs, or they have students that want to be teachers. We have enough individuals in Las Vegas that want to be teachers. We need to get them licensed.
Yeah.
Get them in programs, get them grants, or get them in like tutoring, get them in some kind of, let's meet up at Nevada Partners or somewhere, the library.
And
As
you know
the
what else would
ambassador.
help us, especially educators of color, but I mean everyone, is if they had some kind of stipend for the praxis exams, because the praxis exams are also required. They're expensive. The praxis are expensive.
Yes.
There's no support, and then statistically, right, anybody with autism, ADHD, or if you're a person of color, you're going to have a harder time on that. It's a standardized test. And if we could have some kind of help for that, really. Yeah. I'm in a group. I see people take it 7, 10 times.
We made our own groups. We made our own groups to pass those things. Yeah.
Listen,
that's true.
I had to take which one? I had to take the math one about 2 times.
That's
the praxis. I was like, that was a hot mess. I was like, get me, Lord, put this book by my head and let's do some osmosis, because I need to get this.
But also, I taught for over 20-something years. But for this lady to tell me that I got dumber her last 3 years of supervising me is ridiculous.
Wait, she actually told you?
She told my attorney that she saw me declining. But where was her? She's supposed to have done a EAP. It's an employee assistance plan. That was never completed. So right then and then this was COVID. They took me out of my 3-year my classroom. They put me on 3 years probation because me being silly, trusting trusting Karen and everybody else. So agreed to, go on 3 years probation, knowing when I became a teacher, it was like nobody fires a teacher. Let you get caught in the closet with the kid.
Yeah,
Nobody fires
you
a
have to
teacher.
be on some FBI type, pedophile type stuff, beating kids, pushing them on the ground like the girl that just did the other day. She didn't push the child's baby on the ground because they spilled some water. You really
Mm,
gotta be violent to not be a teacher. Like the other stuff, like if I
right.
need some training, that's frivolous. That's a frivolous matter.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why I say the retention is a joke.
Absolutely. I want to do some shout outs really quick. Ooh, Mercedes, you got some people shouting you out over here, girl. We got Ashley Dodson. So Ashley said that her concern with public education, she says, I'm very concerned with the lack of effort and empathy for our students who are Black, underprivileged, in need of additional resources for the academic, emotional behavioral needs. So we could definitely talk about that. And then we have, is it Winona? Because that's who's shouting you out, Mercedes. Thank you for joining us. And then we got Pastor West. We have Trustee Tamika Henry on the Facebook Live. And then we also have Walter Jones. So for those of you who are on the Facebook Live, if you want to engage, what we're talking about today are some concerns that people are feeling about public education. So we just wanted to give space for that. And goodness, we already didn't started popping off.
Music.
Oh goodness, but I'm so thankful that we've been able to have some different voices on because listen, the work of a teacher and anyone, our support staff and all of our staff that are in schools, this is noble work. Like we have very complex challenges that we have to work through. Think of coming into a classroom where you have to manage students' behaviors, you have to manage students' different education levels. And our little small communities, it's a lot of work to get to a place where we can begin to start to teach students their assignments in the curriculum. It's not as easy as people would think. Like it's a very challenging work. And I'm hoping that we could really, I know that I heard that there was hopefully going to be some more legislation to increase teacher pay. Oh my goodness, that is so needed. And we also need to make sure that we're increasing substitute teacher pay and that they have benefits. Because like Mercedes was saying, with the Transformation Network and any other vacancies, they depend on substitute teachers to do the work of full-time teachers. And they're there just like the regular teachers. And sometimes, listen, y'all, substitutes do the work of teachers. So if you have a substitute teacher who's in a special education classroom, they're writing IEPs, unless that's changed, and unless it's changed, but they're writing IEPs, y'all. So we better get these people trained up. Okay.
If it's a
Oh,
long-term vacancy, if it's a
yes.
long-term vacancy, then they could do IEPs.
Yep. And listen, and that's a contract that's being made. So got to get these people trained up, make sure they have the benefits and the money that they need so that they can do the work that our students need to ensure that they're able to learn and be productive citizens. Y'all, let me tell you, we had went through one of these drive-throughs one day, right? And the line was kind of long, right? This is why it's important that we make sure that our babies are ready to be in to work and if they want to go to work, that they're ready. So you could tell something was going on because the line was long. So then when we got up to the window, the girl was like, how can I help you? She had an attitude, right? So, Khaldun put through the order and everything. And then when we got up to the window, she was standing there. She was upset and mad because everybody was just driving off because she had an attitude. So this is why it is so important that we prepare our students to be able to be in these, sometimes a conflict situation, being able to navigate working, because you can't just have an attitude at work. Like, you got to work that out because now you're about to get fired. Y'all, she was out of there, gone. But every time I go through a situation like that with a young person in the workplace, I think about our education system and how, you know, the full responsibility obviously is not on the educational system. It's family, it's our whole village. But I think about how are we preparing our young people to be in on a job, right? And to be able to have that customer service, because we have been through some, goodness gracious, some things. I see there's some things going on in the chat. Real quick, I'm gonna do another shout out to Belinda Denise. And then we have Sparkle. Thank you so much for joining. Anybody had anything to say before I say what was said on the Facebook?
So I want to just add some things that I'm just going back in time remembering. I
Okay.
know at one point in time the district had some various ARL programs, whether it was for early childhood, special ed, gen ed teachers, or what have you, cohorts. And I'm trying to figure out what has happened to all of those programs, or are they still going on, or is it based off of each of the universities? So, like, I know UNLV has different programs that are taking place. I think Nevada State, and I want to say community college has some things going on where you can transfer into any of the major universities. So I'm not sure if those programs are still intact or if they've gotten rid of them or not. But most of those you did not have to pay for them. And they worked around schedules, and they were set up different ways. Some may be that you would take your classes on Fridays and Saturdays, maybe Sundays. Some would probably be in the evenings. So I don't know. I know that there's been a lot of money spent. And what is going on with the money? I mean, basically, we have to just keep following the money. That's just the whole theme of everything right now, follow the money. So I did want to say that about teachers. And then I know with support staff, and especially with the subs, there was a program called the Permanent Substitute Teacher, and that was for support staff. If you already had credits, um, and you were whatever your range was, as long as you could get a subbing license, you were able to sub as a substitute teacher and go through a ARL type of a program, but you also had benefits. So I know that Autumn Keys, myself, and some others have fought that for a long time to keep that program instated. I don't know what has happened. And that meant that those individuals that were subs, they still moved up on the scale based off of whatever their range was. So I do know that that was there. Once again, I don't know what happened. And that was funded, I want to say, through the HR. Somebody had donated some money some years back for that. I don't know. But
So
we
real
just
quick.
have to, go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, no, I don't mean to. So for what I know about that, there still is, from what I saw in Elms, there still is something for subs. There's some kind of track for subs to become permanent teachers. I don't know what it entails, but it wasn't available when I was there 2018, 2019, when I did the ARL. But any district sponsored ARLs, they told me, are gone. But the UNLV still runs UNLV, Nevada State, and then there's some nonprofits. But the cheapest that they have is like $1,700, and that was what I had a problem with, because with the ARL with the district, I only paid $500, and they seemed shocked when I told them that.
They didn't know the history of
Yeah,
ARL.
so thank you for that, Mercedes. I just know there's a whole lot of stuff just going on with the money. So I'm stuck on the money right now.
Right.
The other thing that I wanted to add was, I'm sorry, you guys. Camilla, you had brought up about my mother, Marzette Lewis, and some of the things that she had done. So one of the things that she had did, and I know my sister Jerusha has talked about this a great deal about having our own schools. They did a boycott against Dr. Cram them when they were going through the whole fight about the Prime 6, and LAVAPSI was a part of all of that. And they had more support from the churches because they were able to use the Second Baptist, the Victories, those churches that were in that corridor. And there were over 200 kids that stayed out. I think it was like for the first 2 weeks, and they impacted the bond issue that some of us are now just starting to see the results of that, like with hopefully Matt Kelly being rebuilt, um, some rehabbing to Helen Tolan School. I think Wendell P. Williams School and Booker came out of some of that money, but that there's always been an excuse about why they've waited so long and waited so late to do anything in our community. Because for us as Black people in historic West Las Vegas, we've always just had to fight for everything. And so I'm going to say this because I will probably be logging off and just on Facebook. With the stuff that has just happened, and I know a lot of people are wondering because we've been having those conversations and those calls about the vote of what happened on, I believe that was Thursday night. Some of us
The
are just
Wednesday?
not getting,
No.
some of us are just not, well, I'm going to speak for me. I'm not in the space that I'm giving people passes when people know what's been going on. And when people have been in conversations and in settings and in discussions about experience. And so right now, we've said we have an opportunity to change the course of the district. And here it is. We're failing once again, like we did at the national level. And so we don't, and I'm speaking specifically about Black folk. And anybody needs to call me, I can give you my number. I'm unapologetically Black. And when I look at the data across the board, we need our own agenda at this point.
Absolutely.
And we have to be proactive in saying the word Black and African American right now, because we haven't had that. That's been missed. We haven't had a face. We haven't had a voice. And so it's not that I'm against other races or anything, because my mother was also a foster care parent. So I grew up around diverse populations of kids, people. I'm a military brat. Um, and I get it. I understand all of it. But when I look at our data nationally, we're the group that's suffering the most. We're the group that people are afraid to say Black or African American. I'm not going to say the other words, but it's almost like we really are going back in time, you know? And
Tracy,
so, yeah,
what other words you talking about?
well,
Hey, what?
Camilla,
I've used the word with a
stop,
couple
Camilla.
of people. I've used the word with a couple of people already directly. Because I'm at an age and a space right now that I don't have time. I'm going to speak for me. I don't have time to play games. We as a group of people don't have time to play games. So if we're going to be about the business, then let's be about the business. If we're not about the business, then step to the side and let the people who are about the business, and they're not afraid to speak, they're not afraid to be seen, they're not afraid to, you know, they're just not afraid. I'm trying to choose my words real clearly and carefully right now. Cause yeah, like I said, I done scratched a little bald spot in my head trying to figure out a whole bunch of stuff that just ain't making no sense, people. And when it gets to that point for somebody like me, who's usually just kind of laid back, quiet, I'm watching. Now, if I'm talking about you, that means you done did some foul stuff somewhere. There's some things that are just not right. There's two people who I don't get along with in this whole world right now. And that's okay. They know who they are. But for the most part, I'm just a laid back, easygoing person. And my family calls me the quiet storm because when I have something to say, I have a lot to say because I'm sitting on a lot of information. And people take quiet people, and my family calls me the quiet storm. They're just taking advantage. And so I'm just gonna I'm not trying to hurt no feelings. I'm not trying to step on no toes, but if that's the case, then so be it, because at the end of the day, the kids, the people in the district, Black folks who look like us, they need help, and we're not being promoted.
Right.
We're down to one Black male principal again, whereas before we didn't have any females. Now we have three, I think it's three females and one male. Well, we had three males at the high school level. And of course, some of that was on their doing. But the bottom line is we should not have to have numbers this low in a district this large. And when you look at the Latinos, their numbers are slightly better than ours, but I mean, they're struggling. But we're we're just at the bottom of the barrel and everything. And yes, our parents have to be engaged, and we have to find a way to hold them accountable. And we have to hold everybody accountable at this point. So I'm going to stop my little babbling before I say anything else, but I want to thank you guys for the time to speak this evening. And if anybody has questions of me or concerns about what I said, you can call me. You can get my number. I'll put it in the chat real quick. But my number is out there. I don't throw the rock and hide my hand. I will stand flat-footed and say it to anybody and say it to their face. But at this point where we are in this game, we got to stand for something or we're going to fall for anything. So that's my little message for this evening.
Right. And Tracy, you know what?
And teaching is
Yeah, go ahead.
teaching is more than just the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. We have to get rapport with our children. If just like if we're in a lecture or in a meeting, if that presenter does not engage us or get our attention, we thinking about what we finna go home and cook. You know, we needed. I engage students. Students loved me. I love them. Their parents loved me. There was no reason for me not to be in that classroom with those special education students.
Right.
And when my trial comes up, I'm gonna let you guys know. And if I can have representatives there or audience there, I want to fill that courtroom up with every preacher, teacher, substitute, custodian, past student, everybody.
I'm sorry, Felicia, can you tell us can you tell me a little bit about your trial? I don't know what you're talking about. I'd love to come support.
Okay. No, I was with the district over 20 years. My supervisor gave me all ones on my evaluation for 2021 during COVID. All ones. Because she wanted to manipulate that eval so it'd be so low that I got terminated.
Wow.
Over 20 years. I'm a product of Nevada, Las Vegas. I went through the program, the cohort program. So UNLV invested in me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I invest in my students. I point to my students, their families, their mothers and fathers. Kids want to commit suicide. I can't be hounding you about a grade when your child want to commit suicide. They tied my hands behind my back. The school district did, or my supervisor did. She took away Go Guardian, certain things that would have helped me co-teach better. Not even just be the teacher in the SLD classroom, but to co-teach better. It was just awesome. Just awful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No apologies. Here's one thing that I do
Oh, that's
want
right. I said I was gonna stop apologizing too.
Well, and I do it too. I'm like guilty of it. I'm like the biggest guilty of it. But here's something that I want to say. I want to thank everyone who tunes in to our conversations. Sometimes our conversations are uncomfortable. And we apologize and we're unapologetic and we do that often. And I just want to say that white fragility is a thing. And I think that's why we apologize. I know for me, that's why I apologize a lot. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry because it's about to make you feel bad. You're about to be upset. We're done with that. Listen, I was just listening to Hegseth, his confirmation. If you have not gone to watch his confirmation interview, please go do that. That is a part of our 2025 focus to pay attention to what's happening federally at the federal level and also locally. But go watch it. The whole time he's talking about we need equality, not equity. And I'm thinking, Help us.
What is it called? Headset?
Pete Hegseth, who's
Hegseth?
being confirmed for the Secretary of Defense today. So a
Oh,
lot
I
of,
was watching some of that today.
even though they were, education came up, y'all. So all these conversations, education is coming up. So you're hearing, we already know what the very extremist values and their extreme conservative values are, but they're continuously saying them, even though they're saying, oh, this is nonpartisan, we're for both people, we're for all sides, but in their conversation, it's not happening. And this dismantling of diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging is an example of white fragility at work and white supremacy at work. And we cannot continue to apologize. And even on the radio the other day, listen, if you read a law and the law is telling you something as a reminder, that's a thing, right? So I want to go read the Constitution. And right there, it said, well, we know what it says, but slavery is prohibited. And this is why we can't be this is why we have to be
Must
unapologetic
be.
and not apologize,
Right.
because the fact that we have to remind other human beings to respect our humanity, to value who we are as a living, breathing human being and a spirit and a soul on this earth.
Oh,
And
watch out, watch out.
we have to say slavery is prohibited to you.
Mhm.
You can't do this.
No.
That is why we have to continue to be who we are and to be unapologetic about that. And, and there's a young lady, goodness gracious, it's a white woman who has this really good book on white fragility, and it's on YouTube. So if you want to YouTube it or Google it, please do. I have to finish going through it, but from what I heard, she does a really good job. Really quick, I just wanted to shout out Pastor West, because he said one of his problems with education, well, one of his topic was, I will always ask that we hold our parents accountable for making sure our babies know the basics before they ever reach the classroom. And then thank you for having me. And then we have Rajul. I hope I said your name right. Well, thank you for joining us. This is my first time seeing your name come across our Facebook. And she said that CCSD's teacher recruitment, what is it? CCSD's teacher recruitment department has a program. And then she said that's a conversation that needs to be addressed. Belinda Denise says the Clark County School District is partnering with the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, College of Education, and the Public Education Foundation to offer a pathway to teacher certification. This collaborative community initiative aims to support our dedicated guest teachers and non-licensed employees in earning their degrees and becoming licensed teachers. So she put all of the information there in the Facebook Live, and then I'll make sure to share that
Okay.
on my description.
Okay.
But yes, goodness, y'all, this was a great conversation. Mr. Rodney, did you have anything?
I just wanted to let everybody know that clause that you read in the Nevada State Constitution was just added this year.
Okay.
Because, like I said on the radio show, up until this year, slavery was allowed in the Nevada State Constitution, the same as it is allowed in the United States Constitution, currently in the 13th Amendment. It took us 6 years to get it removed out of the Nevada State Constitution. In this same election, California had a similar bill in their legislative session that failed. So in California, they still have the slavery clause in the California State Constitution that is the same slavery clause in the United States Constitution. My question to everybody listening here in Zoom, Facebook, and over the phone: how many of you did not know that there is still a slavery clause in the United States Constitution, and up until this year, there was a slavery clause in the Nevada State Constitution? Please.
I did not know that.
And for those of you who are on Facebook, please share whether you knew it or not in Facebook, because that's something that we should know. Right. And that's something that should be taught. It's hard to defend yourself against things that you don't know. But it is no longer in the Nevada state constitution. I did put some notes in the Zoom chat, and we were talking about substitute teachers and funding. Well, my question was, how much would it cost to fully fund for the necessary teachers for the 5th largest school district in the nation? And do we get that funding? If we do not get that funding, why don't we get that funding? Because what I see is it almost looks like we settle for substitute teachers because they cost less. And then we treat them like they are not staff. We treat them somewhat negatively because they don't have some of the same privileges of a full-time teacher. So somebody said we need an agenda. Well, a part of that agenda should be, are we fully funding our education system for the number of teachers that we need? One of the other questions that I put is some folks was talking about federal funding that was used for various add-ons to teachers and staffing. Well, according to Project 2025, they want to disband the Department of Education. Are we looking at how those funding mechanisms may no longer be there, how that might impact our young scholars? And are we putting provisions in place that when that money is gone, and if they do disband the Department of Education, how will we keep it from having an adverse impact on us? And then someone was talking about starting new schools. I believe it was Sister Jerusalem. Maybe we should do a show, something to put out there, Sister Camila, down the road on the pros and cons, if there are any cons, of us pulling our children out of the CCSD in the general population, and then having those so-called our schools. Just a show, and let's do a deep dive on the pros and cons of it. So those were some of the things that I had put in the chat. Oh, here's another one. When all of these teachers are leaving, I don't know if they all give notices or not, but do they do exit surveys in the CCSD so that we can gather data, unless we already have it? And what are we doing when we see the trend? Are we compiling that data and then coming up with fixes so that we don't continue having this leaky pipe? That's what I have.
Yeah, they do give an exit survey. Now, I don't know where it's being reported or where you can go and see the information. They probably, once they see, listen, y'all, I'm just full of messiness. Once they see their name in it, they probably delete it.
Yeah, I didn't see an exit survey. Trust me.
But they do a survey, so it would just be a matter of now just asking, how does the public get to see that information if they do share it? But they definitely, I remember getting a survey, and then it depends on if the person wants to fill it out too.
Oh, also, can we see supervisors' evaluations?
Ooh, I love that.
I like to see my supervisor's evaluation. If she got a 4 for engaging all teachers, that's a lot. She didn't engage me, so how could she get credit for engaging all teachers? I get punished if I don't engage all students.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We need to relook at evaluation anyway. I don't really like the current evaluation. This is my opinion. I think the current evaluation system is not fair. Because one, they're popping in your classroom for like 20, 30 minutes. That's not a good overview of really your, what you're doing. And then for special education teachers, there's just really automatic 4s here, because our engagement, our engagement with families is beyond, we're doing IEPs, you're setting up the IEPs, you're working with teachers, like all of that is like level 4 if you're doing the work, So yeah, they really need to reevaluate all of those. I've been talking about teacher evaluations for a while. Hopefully one of these days we can get a superintendent who one is willing to implement some of these ideas that our community has.
Is Boo still on here? You still on here, Boo? Boo ain't said nothing. Tamika ain't said nothing. I ain't hear no voices. I can't believe Boo on here and
They're
ain't
on
said nothing
Facebook.
yet.
They're on Facebook.
Oh, on
Just say
Facebook.
hi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Really quick, Sparkle said, I have 5 parents that have shared with me over the past 3 months that they have taken their kids out of CCS schools and now homeschooling. Oh gosh. Yeah, homeschooling is, it's viable if you can do it. Oh,
If
really
you can
quick.
do it.
Yeah. So really quick, I want to go over the nominee for the United States Department of Education. Her name is Linda McMahon, and she was an administrator of the Small Business Administration. She was a CEO and president of World Wrestling Entertainment. Y'all, did y'all see that picture of her being body slammed? They were like, here's your new Department of Education. And the guy picked her up, slammed her over.
No, we did not see it.
Listen,
I
they
did
had me
not see
rolling.
it.
I'm gonna post it on my Facebook. She would apparently
Okay.
be a member of the Connecticut State Board of Education, and then she's the chair of the America First Policy Institute. So I went to the America First Policy Institute, and here's some of the things that they support: parental rights and education, school choice expansion, career and technical education expansion, academic excellence in core subjects, state and district control of education, reducing the federal education bureaucracy. They oppose political indoctrination in classrooms like critical race theory. And okay, government
Here we
overreach.
go.
Okay, failing one-size-fits-all education models. And what they're saying that they've achieved empowering parents. So America First Parents, they're advancing school choice, promoting early literacy, challenging radical agendas. So what is that? So that's Title IX rules that protect women and girls, and advancing racist DEI policies, and driving education workforce reform. So I will post the link to this. So this is going to be the individual who will kind of be at the top at federal education. So we'll be following to see once all that happens. Does the secretary, I don't know if the Secretary of Education has to go through the nomination process. I can't remember if that's the
All
case.
cabinet members have to go through the nomination process. They have
Okay.
to be approved by the Senate.
Okay.
But Camila, I want to go back to something that you said.
Sure.
And you said it kind of quick. I want to make sure that people heard it. Can you,
Okay.
if you were reading that, you were reading about Linda McMahon's her bio, and there was a portion on there about something about eliminating racism.
Yes. So that was under yes.
Okay. Can you read that part again?
Yes. Let me go back to it.
And the reason why that's important is because it is antithetical to what we have been talking about with racism. But did you get it?
I'm trying to find where I saw that one. Now, hold on one second. Hold on.
And just so you all will know, if you go to Project 2025, you don't have to read the whole 935 pages, whatever it is, but pull up the education portion. Just pull that portion up. And you will see that this reads directly out of Project 2025.
Okay.
All right. So this section was called, so of the American First Policy Institute, which she's the chair of, it says challenging radical agendas. And then it says defeated efforts to make taxpayers pay for other student debt, change Title IX rules that protect women and girls, and advance racist DEI policies.
That part, racist DEI policies. Everybody needs to hear that. You need to internalize that, and you need to know what that means. As an example, when they were trying to get rid of affirmative action for colleges, the person is going to become president on January 20th at 12 o'clock, even floated the idea of paying reparations for white people, paying reparations for white people because of the racist affirmative action policies. Go look it up. It's easy to find. Well, this comment about those races and DEI programs is a spinoff of that. And they talk about the same thing in Project 2025 in the education section, but in every section of Project 2025. This is a real thing, and we need to be prepared for it, because a lot of these comments, when they say DEI, they're saying Black, or maybe they might even be using, they really using the N word, but for our friendly show, they're saying Black. Anytime you hear DEI, anytime you hear 14th Amendment, when you hear immigrants, we think about, no, they're talking about Black people, because remember, in that same Constitution that still has slavery in it, in the 13th Amendment, in the 14th Amendment, that is what gave Black people citizenship. So when they're talking about getting rid of the 14th Amendment, they're talking about getting rid of Black people's citizenship rights. The same guy who's taken over the office says that if you protest against him, like during George Floyd, remember the police officer sat on the neck of George Floyd for over 8, almost 9 minutes, and choked him to death while it was being live streamed. He says if you have protests against him like that, he will denaturalize you. That means take your citizenship rights away. And there are a lot of people say, well, he cannot do that. He can do anything that no one stops him to do. That is the only limit of what he cannot do. So we need to take this stuff more serious. We need to embrace our school district, the 5th largest in the nation. And the reason why they're after it is because it is the 5th largest in the nation. We need to hold on to it. We need to protect it. And yes, like Sister Camila says, and we spoke about it on a previous show, we need to establish our agenda and then present that to our electeds and to those who represent us wherever they are. And that's how we begin the process of holding them accountable. We're not holding them accountable now, and our children are suffering.
We're not.
Right.
I know we've gotten past our time, so if you have to leave, log off. We'll see you again. But here's something that's really been coming up for me, and I want to know how you all are feeling about it. I'm hearing people are kind of like, they're not sure how they're going to move forward in regards to speaking truth to power, being on social media, because, President Elon, he has X already. So, and I thought I heard this little whisper, and it could be not real, but I got to check it out. Something about him trying to buy, there was a conversation about if he bought TikTok, but how are you all feeling about speaking up against injustice with Orange Theory coming in?
So I will answer that. We have to do it, and we have to do it now, and we have to do it with the full fervor that we can muster. Because remember, Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and WhatsApp. You're talking over 3 billion people. 3 billion. And then if you add on Twitter, X, and you add on TikTok, which is a new kid on the block that's really blowing up, look at the amount of influence that they have. And nobody uses TikTok, I think, more than Black people. So by them putting out misinformation and disinformation and constantly filling the internet with that stuff, it does have an impact on changing our psyche. And the way to counter it is you have to speak truth to power. You have to speak up against it. Maybe you go to Blue Sky. Maybe you go to some of these other up and coming social media apps, because we have to communicate. So I think the direct answer is we cannot stop. As a matter of fact, we need to put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to say, Camila, if anything, I'm fired up. I want to speak more. I actually want to speak more now than I ever did before. And that's why I made my little live video and I gave you a shout out. I was like, Camila Bywaters, this is your fault. And I'm going to talk about the stuff I went to school for, which is climate change.
Oh, yes.
And I talked about, and I made that video. Yes. And I made that video and I talked about the dry vegetation I saw in California 11 years ago and how I had you know, and I hate to be like, I have 2 degrees, but I do have 2 degrees and I studied climate change. And you see the stuff that Elon Musk is putting out on X and asking for Governor Newsom to step down and all this stuff. And it's like, hold up, hold up, hold up. Young people don't even understand that we have been in a mega drought for over 22 years. We have not, they were born into a drought, right? So I'm fired up, girl. I don't know. And I got into it about vaccinations with somebody today. And I'm like, okay, you're going to bring back the measles? Go for it. Whatever, dude. No, if anything, and I hope that more people, and I'm staying on Facebook just for the simple fact that I have taken like 14 years to build 1,500 people on there.
Right.
And so unfortunately, I feel a commitment to them, and that's across different states that I've lived in, you know, that I don't want to drop it. And it is tricky, and I know people are leaving. But if anything, and since they're not going to fact check, then they ain't going to fact check me. So, sorry,
Yeah,
I'm just
well,
like, no, I'm
we
not
can
shutting up.
definitely guarantee they ain't gonna do no fact checking. And that's why we have to do it. But I would love for you though, Mercedes, when you pick a date, to really take us through climate change and let's talk about some of that because that's not my area. So I usually depend on you all, the environmentalists, to kind of take us through what's happening, what it's looking like, how do we get here, is there hope? Can we change this or what? Because, and I really do want to hold space right now for California because I know my focus is always like school boards, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like there's so much devastation there. So I really wanted to make sure that we had a time to hold space for that and, you know, just kind of be in prayer and meditation, whatever, thoughts and prayers for the people who have really like have to start over. Goodness gracious almighty. Like that thing, I thought that was a war. I saw some pictures in California and it looked like a straight up war zone.
So I've been in a war zone, and I won't say it was triggering, but what I
Okay.
will say is it was, to your point, it was very much like a war zone. And there is a war. There's a war, Mercedes mentioned it, climate change. Because, and yes, there are things that we can do about it. There's things that we could have done about it. But the current administration is determined. Not only are they determined not to do anything about it, but they want, again, Project 2025, it's all in there. They are determined to repeal the things that President Biden, President Obama, and others put in place to slow down the effects of climate change. That is one of the main thrusts of Project 2025.
Wow. Wow. Well, everyone, did anyone have any last words before we leave?
You know, I might save this one for when we do talk about, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mercedes. And
Just say
then
when we do talk about climate change, that we have a sitting senator who just got reelected on our legislation here in Nevada, who told me to my face that Elon Musk has done more for the environment than anybody else.
and what was their example of what he did? Because I want
The electric cars, but then that shows you that that legislator knows nothing because transportation only provides 30% of the pollution that we are dealing with. Most of it comes from industry. So, but that's what's scary. This is a Republican senator who's making laws, who thinks Elon Musk is saving the world because he propped up electric cars. But just that statement right there tells me you don't understand climate change, you don't understand pollution, and you're going to be making laws up there. So yeah, it's definitely worth discussing. And that's the part that scares me, is that they're the way they put this man on a pedestal is really terrifying.
You know, we think about electric cars and Elon Musk. Let's keep in mind that he's being put in charge of a quasi-governmental agency called Doge or something like that. And he will have play a key role in who gets what contracts. Naturally, other electric car makers are competition to him. Do you think he's going to give them contracts that compete against his company? Do you think charging stations will be able to come online for other cars, or will they make his charging stations the de facto standard for electric vehicles, which means that anyone who wants to use his electric vehicle charging stations have to pay him? And let's keep in mind also that the current administration, again, it's written in Project 25, but they've also said it in speeches. They want to repeal some of the laws and ordinances that require states and vehicle manufacturers to go more to electric vehicles. So even though you said 30%, but we don't have 30% vehicles that are electric, and they want to slow down the manufacture of vehicles sold, electric vehicles sold in this country, that will exacerbate climate change. We have got to educate ourselves, and a key source for this education is, please, if your area is pollution and contaminants, global warming, there's a whole section in Project 2025 that talks about all the things that they're going to do to exacerbate it, including moving further away from climate accords with other nations.
This is Claire Thomas. Just to piggyback on Rodney's assessment, there's, we kind of like, and I'm sure, people all around are asking the same question: what can we do? Right now, our legislators are due to be in session starting February 3rd. It is imperative that we listen for bills that concern climate, schools, education, veteran affairs, housing, senior. It's imperative that we listen for those bills and make our voices known on the record.
Yes.
It's one thing for us to talk about it, in our own silos, but it's another thing for us to either call in, meet in person over at the new facility, and or email to talk about whether you're for or against a bill.
Okay. Yes.
And once we start collectively as a community letting those people that we elected into office, to let them know that we're listening to you. There are things that we like and things that we don't like. And our voices need to be heard, especially in those committee meetings before they get on the floor and take a massive vote for a bill, pro or con. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. And let's be intentional about that. Let's start here. We're definitely going to be following education. And I hear the call to action to really make sure that we're honing into other areas of interest that impact us. So we're going to make sure that we do our due diligence to see who's already doing this work and if we can kind of be in their space. But let's be intentional. For if you've never written a letter or done a public comment to the legislature, do at least one. If you can, do 2. Pay attention. Let's be intentional about that. I know that we're going to be a part of sending letters and doing our part. So, and we'll let you know and keep you informed, because the more power that we have behind our leaders who value what we have, value what we value, trust me, they need our support. They really, really do. When they're carrying bills, like, we just can't be silent. If it's something we believe, we have to show up in droves to support the initiative. And we can't be upset if we don't, because I've heard legislators say, well, my constituents haven't emailed me or said anything about this. I've heard them say that. And when they don't get a letter, some of them think, oh, well, it's not an issue. All of them don't think like that, but some of them absolutely do. So let's be intentional about that. Really quick before we get off, I want to just say what Belinda Denise wrote on Facebook. She said there are so many concerns, issues with this district, along with staff, parents, and the public. And it seems as if there's no resolution, just a big old snowball mess. I can listen to people, and there's many different agendas, conversations, and issues brought up. That is true. You rarely hear any answers to questions, no follow-up on issues. I'm not hearing about wins anymore. There could be 100 items on the table to tackle, and now there's 1,000. I've said for a long time that public school is a daycare, and if the kiddos gain an education and or life skills while being babysat, then there's my win. I will continue being present for each kiddo I come in contact with one-to-one. And then Pastor West said the HOLD or whomever is the guardian gets the check. Okay, that's not, I guess. Okay. I'm trying to understand what that
May
is.
I offer something,
Yes, go ahead, Miss Valerie.
Camila? I want you guys to watch the signs around town. There
Okay.
are signs that are being put up in Spanish only. Some of them include finding jobs. Some of them are in stores. And I have gone in and approached the managers and said, hey, why is this sign for sale in Spanish only? And there's no English. Watch out for, everybody needs to learn how to speak the Spanish and speak it well. Look at your environment and watch the buildup of tires throughout. Watch the money that is allocated for Purpose 1, Purpose 2, Purpose 3, and the others. Who are the other residents? And I just heard tonight that they're trying to find suitable housing for some of the people who are being burnt out of their homes in California, and clothing. So these guys may get homes that others that are already here have not been able to get because they're on one list or another. Look at the railroad cars that are showing up in people's properties. Those things are made of heavy metal. They're toxic to the soil. Look at the number of gas stations that are showing up, especially in North Las Vegas, how close they are, and that they sell beer and hard sodas, and that they are located near schools and churches where liquor stores couldn't be. So these are things that we need to also look at as well. And I don't know whose district all this stuff is in, but when have you ever seen a trash truck burn up, recycle truck, catch on fire, traveling on the highway? This truck that caught on fire before. Look all over, drive around Clark County and look at the number of tractor trailers that are just logged in. They're stacked one beside another. Don't know who they belong to, what's inside. They're going to catch on fire one at a time. It does not take much to log up and bog down Clark County. They're talking about all these people that want to come here, all these teams that want to come here. What are they going to do about the water? We have water rights here. The first ones here have the first rights of use. So all these people are coming here. Where are they going to get the water? So these are some things in addition to the schools and the properties. A lot of these homes that are being made now, the apartment homes, are 3 and 4, and some of them are 5 stories high. It gets hotter and harder to cool every level that goes up, and you can only get your ADA people on the first floor. If they have to go on the second, third, or fourth floor, they're not going to be able to get out in case of a fire or some natural disaster. So we need to watch the things in addition to the schools. And if they don't put out that underground fire from Pennsylvania over 50 years ago, it's going to continue to get hotter because it's a mine fire that's been burning underground over 50 years. So these are things they probably are in one of those books or another, but we need to watch everything. This is a holistic community, and school is one of the things. So that's
you.
what I wanted to say. I don't know who to say what to, but wherever you are, just drive around and look at how many storage areas along the highways are filled with junk cars and dead trees. It's awful. Look at the writing on the walls and everything. We didn't have all that stuff before everybody decided to come here and be protected. And the auto accidents are horrible. They're horrible. So y'all
Well,
pray
allegedly,
and be vocal and watch out.
yeah, allegedly it's MAGA. So, but here's what I want to say. Thank you so much, Miss Valerie. I'm being facetious about MAGA. But here's what I want to say. This is why I'm not moving from Summerlin. I don't know if you all saw the news, but there was a developer, I think it was on Fox 5. I'm going to put it on my Facebook. I did put it on my Facebook, but there was a community meeting in Summerlin residents, about 200 residents attended the meeting, and the developers were talking about developing some homes close by their homes. And this guy got up and was like, "You're gonna build the wall. You need to build our wall so we can keep out the enemy." And Summerlin, this ain't all of y'all. This is not all of Summerlin, but it is some of Summerlin who agrees with that. And that's exactly why I'm not moving from Summerlin, because if we have the audacity to believe that your neighbor is your enemy, then we have a long ways to go and we have a lot of work to do. And I'm committed to that work. So when I walk outside and when you walk outside, you see me as your neighbor and not an enemy. Please see that report because it was on the news. And basically some of the Summerlin residents were not being honest about who they didn't want in their neighborhood. And I'm like, well, who do you not want? And here's the kicker. The developers were saying, well, the condos that we're going to build are still going to be $1 million, but they weren't being, and the lady was like, oh, I don't believe they're going to be that much or whatever. But it's like, well, who do you not want next to your 6-7 bedroom house? You didn't say it. And that right there is, I'm not leaving Summerlin. I'm going to stay right here and we're going to fight hard as hell to get something up out here so that we can, do, and here's my close in, so that we can live the promise that Martin Luther King has dreamed of for our community. So to close us out, on Sunday, January 19th, we are doing our candlelight vigil. We've gotten an enormous amount of community support. We've had people calling in, say they want to speak. You get to speak. And we have Assemblywoman Claire Thomas's daughter. She's classically trained to sing. She is going to be the Black National Anthem, a classically trained vocalist. So that's going to be a treat. We have some speakers. And if you still would like to speak, this is a community thing. And here's one thing I was thinking about. If you go to church and your pastor ain't never let you preach and you want to preach, and your pastor ain't never let you sing and you want to sing, come on out here. We're going to let you get up here and preach your little, now you got 2-3 minutes. You can do it 2-3 minutes. Come on out here and preach right over here at the MLK statue. And I think it is just such a perfect time for us to get together because it's right before Orange Theory and the inauguration. So it'll be a great time for us to rejuvenate, empower each other, hear spoken word, and hear and rejuvenate from each other. So we will see you on Sunday, January 19th at 4 p.m. at the MLK statue at 1344 West Cary 89030. Have a wonderful night, and thank you for staying with us to the end, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.